Over the past 3 decades, it has become evident that our world has purchased a one-way ticket towards globalization. A world with no borders, a world of producers and consumers. Ease of communications and transport seems to be pulling down just about every barrier between the planet's economies and, consequently, cultures. This is evident in the homogenized, American-modeled consumer lifestyle that the youth of once traditional societies are all too willing to adopt the world over. In the long run, however, the only ones who stand to benefit from the process of turning the planet into a cultural melting pot, where there is no room for national identities, are the big businesses, who may thus offer their products to a regimented consumer public, since a culturally homogenized world mentality will mean homogenized material needs. To implement this, big money from conglomerates has been flowing into government educational policies to revise ethnically oriented material in history books, into the film industries to promote subversive plots, and into news agencies to broadcast politically correct reports on global events. The consequences of this revisionary, memory-cidal, allow the term, policy of the international mass media and today's educational systems are all too evident in the stupor our modern world has fallen into. To the north of Greece, for instance, there are Slavic-speaking people who have convinced most countries in the West that they speak the language of Alexander the Great, and that they are the descendants of the ancient Greek Macedonians of 300 before Christ, when they only appeared in the region in the 6th century and began to read and write their Slavic tongue in the 9th century when Greek missionaries Cyril and Methodius modified the Greek alphabet to accommodate the recording of their speech. Taking cue from the southern Slavs, we now have Albanians claiming Homer's greatest Greek hero, Achilles, as their own, in the name of cultural prestige, that is. Such ludicrous claims are obviously tolerated by the New World Order in order to establish trends conducive to a global mindset that will hold any well-founded national consciousness to be an obstacle to the desired New World Order. The New World Order of clowns ripe for geopolitical manipulation. The most potent mentality-shaping tool, however, has always been language. Today, the semantic power of words promoted via the international mass media plays an important role in shaping globalizing attitudes. At the forefront is ism-suffixed diction that forms totem, taboo words to define various positive or negative social-political trends. For instance, views and opinions that champion national identities are frowned upon as nationalism or chauvinism. Governments who try to implement these views are accused of fascism. Persons who cling on to traditional values are charged with conservatism. The omnipotence of the international mass media goes as far as to ordain whether an act of one's self-sacrifice to defend home country or beliefs is hailed as heroism or condemned as terrorism, depending on the economic and the political interests at stake. Hence the selectively heroic pilot justified to drop bombs on selectively terrorist states. The brainwashing effect of the masses is further reflected in the willingness of the hoi polloi, the many, to marginalize pariahs who do not comply with the desired current of things by stigmatizing them with ism labels. Ism is a suffix of Greek origin, my friends, and as such it embellishes all of its suffixed diction with the prestige of this great language of ours, without which most other languages would revert to Bronze Age diction. In this way, ism and its birth child, ist suffix, as in nationalist, fascist, racist, etc., have acquired such ubiquity that their indiscriminate usage has reached pandemic proportions. For it affords every simpleton, every simple-headed bloke with a facile tool to stifle any strong opinions on an issue with an ist suffix. For example, don't take him seriously, for he is such an extremist. In a world where everyone must become equal, for equal exploitation that is, even terms like betterist or biggerist are now used to accuse those who dare to compare. What is really dangerous about a globally homogenized mentality, predictably responding to media-promoted stimuli with isms, is that it renders people incapable of tracing any truth in the views they have been conditioned to consider extreme, and if these views are justifiable and logically supported, even if they are supported logically. Even more dangerous is the distortion of meaning that words like extremist and racist have recently acquired. For instance, the 1981 edition of Webster's Dictionary, which I consulted, for instance, defined racism as a belief that race is the primary determinant of human traits and capacities, and that racial differences produce an inherent superiority of a particular race. However, the media has extended the meaning to characterize any sort of discrimination even between members of the same race. In Greece, per se, this word has been so media hammered into people that the term "I am not a racist, but," and then the complaint follows, almost always precedes any expression of discord or opposition to the current influx of illegal aliens into the country, be they white, yellow, or black. And although fears may be justified by the consequent escalation of crime in Greek cities due to this influx of illegal immigrants, governments are also forced to turn a blind eye to the invasion, lest they be singled out as racist factions in the global order of anything goes. This idiotic filter of political correctness has even gone so far as to blur the line between paying a lady an innocent compliment and sexually harassing her. The ever-growing number of lonely people in Western societies is further augmented by the political correctness that has now even been legislated, ordaining behavioral patterns that will keep people focused on their iPhone screens rather than look each other in the eye. As for the term extremist, the dictionary definition is a person who advocates or resorts to extreme measures, especially in politics, a radical. Although one hardly resorts to extreme measures on courageously voicing dissent against a general consensus or flow of events, he or she is likely to wear the tag extremist nowadays. It used to be that in such cases, idealist would have been a more suitable choice rather than extremist. According to the dictionary definition, an idealist is an adherent of any system of philosophical idealism, or one whose conduct is influenced by idealism, a visionary, or one who is unrealistic and impractical. Woe unto a world thrown into a notional quagmire, my friends, where patriots are confused with racists and idealists with extremists. George Orwell's 1984, which forebode a society whose thoughts and behavior were standardized by Big Brother ordained diction, has never proven more prophetic. The 1973 edition of Encyclopedia Britannica, which I have in my library, was also predictive in its article on Greece, still under the junta, the military regime at the time. I'll quote it. The future of Greece is in serious question, whether it will involve itself in the existing dangers of Balkan politics or seek a close, more prosperous association with the West and the homogenizing, if not demoralizing, culture of the international mass media. It is interesting to note that the term culture is put inside quotation marks in this Britannica Encyclopedia of 1973. As to the question of how big businesses stand to gain from the diluting of national consciousness throughout the world, The answer is obvious, as previously stated. In the absence of traditional social nexuses, members of a demoralized world turn to reclusive, media-controlled lifestyles for guidance. And lifestyles, in the modern sense, dictate only one value: blind, media-guided consumption. Nonetheless, there is hope. The impending economical crisis in Greece, and soon the world over, may once more give credence to the wise Greek tenet, miden kakon amies kalou, which means there is nothing bad without a bit of good in it. For more and more of us might begin questioning these media-imposed politically correct values and globalization itself by adopting the traditional, down-to-earth values that have not only withstood the test of time, but also come cheaper to boot, intermingling with family, lovers, friends, culture, and society, all of which comprise the building stones of sound nations, sound societies, and anthropocentric civilizations. At this point, I only hope of not being accused of suggestionism. Thank you for listening, my friends.